I'm Linda Gledhill. I'm the Deputy Secretary for Communications at Government Operations Agency. I have partners in crime with me, Scott Gregory.
Hi, I'm Scott Gregory. I'm the Chief Innovation Officer for Department of Technology.
And an unannounced guest, my colleague Angie Fuerte from the Government Operations Agency. So we're going to spend just a couple minutes talking to you about an event we held in May, California Matter Symposium, focused on user-centered design. And the goal of this event, we invited top-level officials, so we invited mostly agency secretaries, department directors, and the deputy directors and communications, department communications professionals to talk about the importance of user-centered design when thinking about your websites. So I think, do we have the CA.gov presentation?
Let's see.
Yep. Okay, so one of the things that we talked about as we advance is the CA.gov, and I know that we have, I think, come to all of you previously talked about CA.gov and the effort we underwent about a year or so ago to revitalize it and turn it into a digital service platform or portal. So the goal was to take CA.gov and make it into a place where folks could get any, people who are citizens of the state of California, residents of the state who don't know if they need health care, what department or agency or board or commission might be the most appropriate one for them, a way where they could search and look for services in general. So.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, that's absolutely consistent. So as Linda had mentioned, it was a really diverse group that we had, and it was intentional that the group was not technical in nature. It's very much different than, folks in this room here in particular. And the reason we did that was, for a lot of reasons here that Linda had mentioned. There's a number of departments out there that do provide services directly to the citizens of the state. I mean, really, if we face it, the reality of the work that we do is to deliver services to citizens that support us, that ultimately pay our salaries. We're the government. They look to us for support and for help. Here's a couple of, just simple statistics that were shared with the group more broadly. And as we went through it, there was some interesting dialogue that kind of came back. There was some presentations that focused very much on how services from organizations like Department of Veterans Affairs or Department of Motor Vehicles impacted individuals directly. And that's something that we want to convey here today, is this notion of users first and user design, which I know many of us understand that. Many of us use that in the principles of our development daily. But this presentation that we want to share with you today is just sort of a recap of some of those things that we shared more broadly with executives across the state and some of the information that we had provided them.
I think part of the bigger picture and the goal was to really expose decision makers as rethinking of their website as the service front door, right? Like, the work that you all do is not just managing and creating content on websites. You're actually providing services to the public. And we wanted to remind the decision makers of that the website that they own in their department is the digital front door to the services that they provide.
Correct. So I think what we'll do is we're going to go through some of these different slides and sort of pause and talk a little bit about some of the experience that we had going forward. Does that sound good? Okay. So, yeah, I mean, we kind of went over some of these things here. It really does boil down to our approach into how we deliver services. Angie really touched on a very, very important point, that our websites and our web presence is the front door to our organization. And how do we, as gatekeepers of that information and gatekeepers of that portal into different organizations, provide stuff that's meaningful and relevant. I'll give you anecdotally sort of an example that I experienced recently. And I think, it was shared with Angie and Linda as well. Obviously there's a lot of emergency activity going on in the state right now. We have fires burning everywhere, it seems. We've been looking at ways in which we as a government can convey to citizens that we're here to support and we're here to help. by providing a place for them to access resources, to find help. Instead of, hey, this is what we're doing, look at what government's doing and how wonderful this is. It's no, here's resources to begin to help you to understand how you can file taxes differently, how you can find shelter, how you can find food, how can you contact a relative, how do you receive and continue to receive the same benefits that you're receiving from the state given this fire emergency. So it gives us a medium to be able to convey that message and do it in an important and meaningful way. And that goes back to that concept of user first and user design that we wanted to continue to deliver.
Yeah, so as a user, you usually go to a website and you come in with a question, right? You're trying to find something. Where is this? Or how do I do this? And so that's kind of the approach that we took when we redesigned the state portal, ca.gov. We want to prioritize those questions to make it easier for users to be able to find what they need.
Mm-hmm. So you can see here with this slide, many of you have seen ca.gov. You know, that was a pretty monumental effort from our perspective to be able to take what had been sort of commonplace before, which was a list of links and a list of information, and then sort of relying on the user to say, oh, okay, I know where I'm going. You know, that's not the best service that we can provide. So in doing so, the team developed what many of you already implement and use as the state's template, and building it in a way that was intuitive for them to understand how to get to information and how to access that. And we began to carry this theme and sort of notion through our conversation that we had with some of these executives that really didn't have any exposure. You know, and I guess maybe I'm making some assumptions here, but a lot of them kind of thought, well, yeah, we have a website and here's some information and, you know, we're good.
And
not
I think
necessarily the
what
case,
we've done
right?
here is probably similar to what a lot of you have done in terms of rethinking sort of what do we need our website to do, right? I think that for a long time, websites were a place where we put all our news releases, right? And that was about it. Like maybe we had some videos up there, maybe we had some pictures, but there wasn't, and that's what the old ca.gov was. It was just like a running list of press releases throughout the state. It didn't give importance to anything, nor did it really identify who was coming to the website and what they might be looking for. So I know I've seen in the state government over the last several years, you know, this really turn toward who is coming to our website. I mean, I remember CalPERS who designed theirs about 2 years ago, and they had this like aha moment where they said, oh, you know, our website is designed like our org chart. And that makes sense to us inside CalPERS, but it makes sense to nobody else who comes to our website looking for services. So, you know, they changed it to, are you a current state worker? Are you a retiree? Are you, you know, someone who's interested in a job maybe? You know, we've done this, there are websites, Andrew and I were at a meeting yesterday with the Department of General Services where they are going through this process. Their website right now is basically a list of press releases, and they need to identify who is coming to get their services. Are they state government? Are they people who are looking for, and they do so many different things that, you know, they have Office of Administrative Hearings, they have the State Architect's Office. So, you know, there are a lot of local governments coming there trying to figure out how they can build their school. They have so many different users coming to their website, and a lot of people just maybe know where they want to go and they just want to go there, but the information was now presented in a way that was user-friendly to those folks who might be coming in looking for different things. And there's so many different things that they do, they need to figure out a way to group it. So I think that a lot of you probably see this out there already. If you have any, you know, part of what we want to come here to do to you today and say, you know, we try to present this to executives throughout the state, to try and work from the top down. You're probably working from maybe, you know, and we're trying to get in the middle somewhere where we can find everyone and say, agree that this is the way forward. We want to do user-centered design, and that means understanding who our users are, right? And a lot of state governments, I think, have built websites just over the years, just sort of saying, hey, here we are, we're state government, you know, here's what we do, without really thinking about that connection between the people who are coming to our website and the information that we're giving to them.
Right. So kind of to pivot off of what Linda was mentioning, and I can, for myself, speak for Office of Digital Innovation, sort of the approach that we've been garnering and developing over time is taking the user experience very literal. really reaching out and understanding and querying who our users are and understanding what some of their needs are and putting into practice really what we preach. And that means taking that agile approach. And I know for many organizations, and it was for us, it was somewhat of a paradigm shift, right? You know, a lot of us had been ingrained into this development process that was based on, you know, waterfall, where you gather requirements, you build something, then you deliver. But some light bulbs kind of came on over the time that we've spent with GovOps and some of our other partners across the state, that there's a better way to do this. There's a better way to iterate through a process to get to yes a lot faster and to get to that final solution. And we've all heard agile, you know, it's buzzword bingo now, right? It's almost like kind of ridiculous, but in a way, it's not, because it's a new way for us to look at and approach the way we do development. We build development cycles, not only in software engineering, but also in how we approach web development. Give you some very real world examples. Back to the fires, we have been tasked to start to develop some informational pages related to the emergency. That information is coming in very quick, and it's changing. It's becoming very dynamic. We have to be able to develop a construct that allows us to ingest that information, host it, build it, put it to test, view it, and then publish out. I can tell you in the past that way it wasn't that quick. And the end result is that we're being much more responsive to our response partners, but most importantly to the citizens. And I always want to take it back to that, because that's really the point why we're here. We're in public service for a reason. We're there to serve. And I believe Agile and building some of those frameworks around user-centric design and user experience are very key to our success as a web community going forward in the future.
So the goal of CA.gov, and I think what most of our websites should strive for, would be to make it accessible to anyone, anywhere, anytime. We keep talking about users, but I think we often forget that we're also users ourselves, right? So we have driver's license, we go to the grocery store, and we are also citizens of the state, and we benefit from the services that other peers that also work in state government provide. And so it's important to keep that in mind, because that shows you how something you do affects others as well. And I think we're an ecosystem, and we can learn from one another, and we want to be able to continue to push that message up top, but also remind you that the work that you do matters. So after we redesigned CA.gov, we got positive and negative feedback, because often when you change your website, people are thrown off, and they're used to bookmarking something over here. Yeah. But for the most part, I think something that we really benefited from doing is we are constantly active on the development of our portal. We use analytics, we ask for feedback, and once we get that feedback, we apply it. And I think that's important, because we want to remind you that our websites, not just you, but our decision makers of the websites, they're a tool, and it's not something that should be stagnant. Just like emergency responses, it's something that you should be constantly catering to, because people often come to your website in case whenever they need something. It's a service tool, essentially. Yeah,
it's a living and breathing entity. I'll also tell you one thing that we've seen over the last couple of years is, say, sort of raising the profile of California's web presence more broadly across the nation. And we've been engaged in a lot of submittals around awards. Not that we're chasing awards for the sake of chasing awards, but you know, we wanted to be able to put out the good work that folks are doing. And a lot of it, you know, certainly is based on what CA.gov has been able to deliver as a template and as a way that's much more intuitive. The feedback that we've received has been really phenomenal, not only from within the state, but also some of our partners across the U.S. and saying, hey, that's really kind of cool what you did there. That's really quite an improvement. So it made us very proud that we could be able to do that and then share those very same templates.
And I want to tie together sort of this presentation with the previous one to some extent. The template is the overriding, right, design that we're striving for. We're not saying you have to use every part of it, but we want the template to be the presence of the state of California on the web, because we want people to know. I mean, as soon as the fires happened, there were scammers.
I mean, instantly, right? There were people trying to get in there and get the victims to give them money, even though they weren't proper entities, right? That they were doing something illegal. We want everyone to be assured when they come to a state of California website that they're actually on the state of California website, right? So that's why we're really excited that the governor's office is in the process of doing a redesign, using the template, using WordPress, the CA.gov. The goal is to mirror everything with the CA.gov in the corner, so people know, that links back to the portal, so that people know that that is an official state website, and they can trust the information that they get there. I mean, our trust is really our bond with the people that we serve. And we all know, I mean, we have our same experiences, right? We might curse the DMV if we have to stand in line too long, but if they have a good positive interaction, that helps everyone. That helps the whole state. People don't think of Caltrans versus DMV versus DGS versus CaliChar when they're trying to get a job. They just think about state government. They just lump those all together. So what one entity does reflects on everyone. So just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, I totally agree. That common branding is incredibly important. So anyway, things that you've seen. So the before and after. This was kind of sort of a shocking moment, I think, to some in the audience, where they saw before, and then, I mean, if you look at the new sort of version or iteration of CA.gov, what a distillation of information. It's not chaos. It's, wow, it's organized. Whoa, what a concept, right? But focused on services. It's all based around the services that we develop and deliver. Again, on the mobile experience completely changed, obviously for the better. Majority of our traffic that we're starting to see, the trends are mobile, right? No surprise. We all carry these little computers in our pockets. That's the way most of our constituency accesses government. We need to be cognizant of that in the development. Back to Linda's comment, having a consistent template, a consistent branding, well, it's developed to work on multiple platforms. And that's really nice when you're trying to hit and reach your audience more completely. Okay, right. I got ahead of myself, but there's a little bit of a breakdown at the time we did the presentation. I'm sure some of that has changed, maybe to some very slight degree, but those numbers are very consistent with what we've seen in terms of analytics coming back. And that's it. So actually, it's not it, because I have more to say. I want to kind of pivot a little bit off of what Danny and Guy had shared before. You saw a new site. Hopefully it was new to you. Let me see if I can bring it back up. Code.ca.gov. Maybe it was closed. Here. Let me just, oh, there it is. Okay. This is a pretty big deal to the development community in the state. And I'll tell you why. Because, you know, from work with GovOps over many years, looking at innovation in government and looking at how we can be more efficient and more agile, right? And more responsive to our development efforts and delivering service to the state, we needed to start to look at how open source begins to play into that equation. So something that you will see soon is a policy related to open source technology. We're still in the development process of working with some of our partners to iron out some wrinkles. But what that means is a lot of code is developed across the state. Much of it is open source. Now, it makes a heck of a lot of sense as a government to be able to share intragovernmentally or even intergovernmentally that code that's been developed. It's funded by taxpayers. We need to have a way to be able to post and share that information. So that thought sort of borne out the idea of developing this open source code portal. The interesting part about this is that it's using industry standard practices. You know, a lot of times government tries to kind of reinvent the wheel. Well, when we look at this, we're not trying to do that. What we're trying to do is link into what developers are already used to. GitHub. I was a little nervous that not a lot of folks knew what GitHub was, but hopefully after this meeting you'll go out and you'll check it out. GitHub is a internationally recognized open source code repository, a place where organizations can post information related to code, post code, some very heavy hitters go out there, the Microsofts, Linux Foundation, Apache, a lot, Esri, right? A lot of these really substantial companies that are ingrained in our IT infrastructure support and post code there. Why can't we, right? So this is our foray into that. So I would encourage you to go out to code.ca.gov, explore it, contribute to it. Danny is always monitoring. I get emails from Danny every other day, not every day yet. But it's really an awesome thing that we build it once, and then we share it across needs and across organizations, and then we build up that base and start to develop some of those competencies. This is also, if you think about it, you know, as we bring more of the IT workforce into the state from private sector or even academia, we're also having quite a bit of folks sort of retire or leave. Now, the folks coming in are not being taught on some of those traditional languages that maybe many of us were taught in college. COBOL's not being taught to these kids. Pascal is not being taught, right? BASIC not being taught, right? They're learning things like Ruby on Rails. They're learning things like Python. We have to be able to start to engender a development culture that invites that, encourages that, and gives them a place to collaborate. And this is the very beginning of that movement in the state. And it's exciting to start to see this roll out and to see what the potential will be coming forward. So we've spoken quite a bit. I don't know if my colleagues have any
I wanted to,
comments?
in case you were curious, to see the presentations that were showcased at the Californians Matter symposium. You could just go to our website, wogoct.ca.gov. And then you should be able to get a sense of the audience, look at all the presentations, including the one that we gave you today. We had folks from the federal government, folks from the city of Oakland talk about how they've redesigned their services. But then we also had private sector individuals, companies like IDEO that created the concept of user-centered design come in. And we actually had an interactive session with department directors. We made them stand up and go and use Post-it notes to rethink the DMV, for example. So feel free to go to our website, download the presentations, check it out, and look at our speakers as well. And we have additional recommended reading if you want to learn a little bit more about what the federal government and other individuals are doing to put users first.
Yeah. Great. All right.
Well, questions?
Yeah.
Any questions?
I think we have some time. Michael, we have enough time, right? Yeah.
Richard?
Yeah, I was
Sure.
just going to suggest when you're talking about them trying to do the user-centered design approach and all that, one thing that you alluded to on SADA.gov, but a lot of the other agencies don't use it yet, is the analytics, and in particular in Google Analytics, which almost all of them have, and we also have at a statewide level, they have this capability called user flow, where you can actually see how people are flowing through your site and how many loops or whatever that they're making in the process. And as they redesign, this would be enormously valuable to understand how well it works.
Yeah. So for folks on the web, the comment back, very, very valuable, is related to accessing and leveraging analytics capabilities that are already in place within California's web infrastructure, being able to sort of see the flow of traffic, not only traffic to the site, where and what is being visited, but also the flow within the site of accessing information and looping back. I think it's really important. That's incredibly valuable, right? That's the user experience. That's what they're dealing with. They're seeing it firsthand and getting analytics on that. And it's really important. Great comment.
And actually, a great example of that, when we had the Californians Matter symposium, we talked about analytics, like we did when we showcased CA.gov. And in real time, someone in the audience who works for CalVet immediately messaged her communications person and said, I want to know the analytics of our website. What are people looking for? And they came to realize that most veterans are searching how to get your license plate, like those specialized license plates. It's not even a service that CalVet actually offers. That's more of DMV, but it's something that veterans are looking for. So they developed a button that they put on their website so that it was easier for them to find it. So that really shows you the power of the analytics and being able to serve your user.
Yeah, that's cool. Any other questions? Art, do you have a question? No? Okay. You look like you did. Go ahead.
Do you guys offer guidance to state agencies that are interested in going this route, they might need a little step forward or?
I mean, there's nothing formal, but certainly at WUG Oct level, we're always, and with staff help, we're always willing to kind of come and talk to your department. If you feel like you need, you know, extra support in what you're trying to do, we're absolutely willing to kind of come and just have a meeting and talk about why this is important in the direction that the state is on. I mean, I know for a fact that the secretary has talked about this in cabinet meetings. You know, this is not something, and that the governor's office is interested in, so this is something that we feel like we have a mandate to kind of help go out and push. So if we can help you in any way push that message, we're happy to do so.
Who would we contact?
So you can contact myself and Angie, and so we'll have Michael make sure that when, if you can just see us afterward, or we'll make sure Michael sends out our contact information when he does our recap to the spring.
Okay, any other questions?
Can I? Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask a question of you.
Oh, of me?
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
God, here we go.
how many of you, for show of hands, feel like this is something you know but can't do in your organization? I see a couple of half-raised hands.
At our
Okay.
level.
All right, so that is, I think that's a feeling that we get a lot when we talk to folks. How many of you talk to your communications department on a regular basis?
Okay.
How many of you just have some sort of control over the content and what it looks like on the homepage, or are able to feel comfortable offering suggestions about what your homepage should look like? Okay, so I think that is a, you know, somewhat representative sample as what we're getting for, and, you know, my goal, which won't happen in the Broadway, but, you know, is to get comms departments and technology departments to talk to each other and work as partners, because your website is both, right? In a lot of state government entities, the website has become part of the technology division, but what we're trying, it's really a communications tool. And it's really a tool that your senior level management should be using to get its message across and to help the people that it serves. So again, that's kind of our, I think, summary. If there's anything we can do to help you with that goal, absolutely feel free to reach out to us individually. More than happy to just have an offline conversation to help reach out to your comms folks, your senior executives, whoever we need to do to help you kind of move in that direction, we're willing to do.
Great. Oh,
Yeah.
one more.
Share a story real quick.
Sure.
I observed some people that went to this conference and were really impressed, and then went back to their agencies and dictated what they thought was a user-centered design to their website. So if you guys could help propagate the message that user-centered design needs to be centered on actual users and their feedback, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Received.
Yeah, Chad. Happy to do that.
Right. Okay, well, great. Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you.